Let me look at some questions that we have here. And there are some non-Patriots questions. I didn't really limit it, I guess. I said I'm doing a PFT PM on an end of an era in New England. If you have any questions, ask them. I didn't say only New England. So here's the first one. Since the Jets were forced to do Hard Knocks, do you think the NFL will finally force the Giants to do it for 2024? The Giants will be, I think the rules are you have to be exempt, new coach, playoffs in either of the last 2 years. I think it's either of the last 2 years, and you haven't done it, or you have done it in the last 10 years. I'm getting that all screwed up. Let me try that again. To avoid being on Hard Knocks in the preseason, you have to have a new head coach, you have to have been to the playoffs in one of the most recent 2 seasons, or you have to have done it at some point in the last 10 years. There. Take that. The Giants were in the playoffs, so they can't be forced to do it this year. And the Patriots can't be forced to do it this year. That was one of the questions. Hey, if Bill comes back, 2 years, no playoffs, maybe the Patriots can be forced to do it. So the Jets were forced to do it. The Jets did not want to do it. The Dolphins didn't want to do it in season. I still don't know what the formula is. I think it's, and I'm trying to remember what I was told a few weeks ago when this was an issue. I think it's you're only exempt if you have a new coach and if you've done Hard Knocks within the past 10 years. Playoffs, doesn't matter. That doesn't get you out of it. And the Dolphins were tapped on the shoulder and forced to do it. Joseph O'Leary, since they agreed to part ways, does Bill not get the $25 million now? The $25 million, that's a reference to the general belief that that's what he makes per year. He's got 1 year left under contract. It's possible that they did what I said all along they should do. We're just going to tear up the contract. There's no buyout, and there's no restriction on your ability to go elsewhere. Because if there had been a $25 million buyout, there would have been a temptation for Belichick to go somewhere and get peanuts this year and stick the Patriots for the rest. And the Patriots have been involved in the past with Brett Bielema, for example, in a controversy over whether or not they were paying fair market value to Bielema when he had a giant buyout from Arkansas. They got caught up in the litigation over it. So the best way to go here is just say, hey, Bill, you're going to get a ton of money wherever you go. You don't need our money. You get $25 million, you name your price. You're going to get it. You're going to get at least as much as you were supposed to make here somewhere else. Why do you need our money? And there's no salary cap. It doesn't affect the operation of the team. I mean, to the extent that they're obsessed with budget, I guess it does. But this is a special circumstance. This is a chance at Bill Belichick. So the best solution would have been rip it up and everybody walk away. So I don't know the answer to the question. And again, maybe it'll come up when they talk to Robert Kraft today. It's one of those kind of awkward, it feels inappropriate. It's like asking someone how much they paid for their house. It delves into financial issues that maybe Kraft doesn't want to talk about, but we'll see. We'll see. Kushmanzada, what is the one spot no head coaching candidate would want to land? I don't know because I haven't talked to them about it. I wouldn't want to go to Carolina. I wouldn't want to deal with David Tepper. I wouldn't want to have to worry about somebody who doesn't know football as well as I do trying to tell me what to do with my team and possibly fire me and just be an environment that feels borderline toxic. I mean, how many other teams have owners that threw a drink on a fan? Come on. Isn't that funny how stuff goes away? We really do have goldfish brains, and we just forget about stuff. I mean, that was a line that you wouldn't think an owner would ever cross. Threw a drink on a fan, got fined $300,000, $50,000 more than Bud Adams got fined for firing off middle fingers. Yeah, I wouldn't want to touch that Panthers job, period. Unless and until David Tepper gave me a firm guarantee he was going to stay out of my way. And that if he didn't, there'd be some gigantic balloon payment like $100 million. Although even then, that might not be enough to get him to resist because the guy's got $20 billion. Paul PJ5, do you think we see any more head coach openings? That's what's crazy about this, and that's why I think this is so historic this week. We've seen Pete Carroll out, Mike Vrabel out, Bill Belichick out, Nick Saban retire. Even though that's not NFL, it's still, holy shit, what a week. 8, that's 25% of the league. We could still see Buccaneers. We could see Buccaneers or Eagles. Who knows? We could see Steelers if Mike Tomlin decides to walk. We could see Chiefs if Andy Reid decides to retire. That's 4 right there. You throw in the Cowboys if they lose and Jerry Jones decides, I'm done with Mike McCarthy. We could have more than a third of the league looking for new coaches. And it just feels like this process could go slowly because if I'm looking for a coach, I want to know who all's out there. And if I'm a candidate, I want to know what jobs are available. Crazy times, crazy week. It's going to be an action-packed month, maybe longer. Who knows when the dust is going to settle on these searches. Let's see what else we have here. Manvilla 625, what do you make of Carrie McNair's attempts to seek guardianship of Janice McNair, the owner of the Texans, and what are the consequences the Texans may face? This is a story we haven't discussed. I wrote about it. But news broke on Tuesday. Been a roller coaster week, and I'm trying to remember the day, but it was Tuesday night. I caught wind of an application that was filed in November for Carrie McNair, the brother of Cal McNair, to obtain guardianship of Janice McNair, who is still alive, but he wants to have her declared incapacitated. She's 87 years old. She's the owner of the Texans, the principal owner of the Texans. Cal McNair is the CEO. And there's a fight over whether or not the application itself is even going to be made public. They want to keep all of this secret. They said it could be detrimental to the Texans if it comes out. And there were affidavits submitted, that's just written testimony, from both Cal McNair and Janice McNair, talking about the impact that this information would have on the Texans and their partners and speculation about ownership. And if you read between the lines here, I think it's not unreasonable to wonder whether or not Carrie McNair wants to take over his mother's estate, have control over her decisions, and sell the team. A team that cost $700 million by way of expansion fee in 2002 when they debuted and could be sold for 10 times that now, $7 billion, maybe more. And we hear about Jeff Bezos all the time, maybe buying an NFL team. Jeff Bezos spent multiple years, a big chunk of his childhood, growing up and living in Houston. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And it's a shame it's happening to the Texans at a time when they're getting their act together on the football field. But this is what happens when the teams aren't corporations. And I'm not saying corporate structure is the end-all, be-all, and there can still be malfeasance, and there can still be infighting, and there can still be problems. But this whole idea of these billion-dollar businesses being passed around like, grandpa's watch, I don't know if that's the best way to run a football team. And to have this kind of legal issue that clouds the future of the Texans, that's not good for anybody. It sounds cold and impersonal to think of it that way, that these corporations, that these teams should be corporations. I think most teams would be better off than their current structure. Mom and pop, billion-dollar mom and pop store. I think a corporation with a board of directors and a CEO and checks and balances and, requirements that people have the actual competence to run the team. You don't have to have competence to run a team. You either have to have enough money to buy it, or you got to be related to the person who owned it and died. All right. Didum. Does Bill have to win a Super Bowl with his new team to prove he can win one without Brady? Like how Brady did it without Bill. We talked about that earlier. I don't think he has to, but it would be nice. His legacy is what it is. But to the extent that we're keeping score, if he could win one without Brady and without New England, just like Brady won one without New England, without Belichick, yeah, that helps. But it doesn't change how we view Bill Belichick as one of the great coaches of all time, no matter what he does going forward. Manvilla 625, does Nick Caserio's adamant denial of interest in the Patriots GM opening close the door on him returning? It seems the Texans are set up to succeed and by all accounts have a good relationship between him and DeMeco Ryans. I don't believe Nick Caserio is going back to New England. I don't think they'd want him, frankly. I don't know that. I don't think they'd want him. And they're moving in a new direction now. I thought maybe the Caserio return was being floated as a way to keep Belichick, to try to fix the issues there. But I don't think it would have, and I don't see Caserio going back, and I don't see the Texans letting him go. Why would you let him go? The guy just hit a home run with both the second overall pick and the third overall pick in the draft. He hit a home run with DeMeco Ryans. Why would you let him go at this point? It's working. Why would you go somewhere else when it's working where you currently are? Tom Marshall, could Bill Belichick get Kirk Cousins over the hump in, say, Atlanta or Washington? Well, it would be Josh McDaniels, and that's going to be the next question. Does Josh McDaniels put a staff together? I've already heard a little rumblings about McDaniels putting a staff together. Does he put an offensive staff together and partner up with Belichick? Maybe he does. And with Cousins, you got to have enough of a team around him. And it helped that he had continuity into year 2, hearing the same voice in his helmet in Kevin O'Connell. That all helped. I don't know that Kirk Cousins is the answer for Bill Belichick. We'll see. He could do a lot worse, especially in Atlanta or Washington. Either of those teams would benefit from Kirk Cousins. Wouldn't it be something if new ownership in Washington would be the one that brings Kirk Cousins home? That would be something. All right, let's see what else we have here. Could Bill wait for Dallas to lose and that job will be open? Unless Dallas makes a championship game, McCarthy will be gone. Yeah, we've already been talking about that. I probably shouldn't have done that one. I'm giving you a little airtime here. Let it ride. Wiggy Tim. Yes, I think Bill will wait. I think at a minimum, he wants to see all the jobs that are out there before he picks one. That means waiting to see if the Cowboys lose short of the Super Bowl, waiting to see what Mike Tomlin does once the Steelers are done, waiting to see what happens in Philadelphia, if anything, waiting to see if Andy Reid retires when the Chiefs are done. You let it go. You let it ride. And I know you're going to want to get to work, but you also want to make sure you're going to the right spot, the one that is best suited to you, winning one or more Super Bowls. If they're keeping score, you want one to catch Brady. You want another one to pass him. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.